Here's a tutorial on how I make my patchwork hoodies. I start off by picking 4 colors and cutting my squares. These are 6 by 6 inches and you'll need about 5 to 6 of each color. You can design your pattern however you'd like, but you'll need 2 rows of 4 up top and 3 rows of 5 on bottom. I typically sew from right to left. Stack 2 squares at a time and sew along this right edge. Make sure both your top and bottom squares are inside out while you're sewing. Here's the first stack sewn together and you'll want to do the same to the other 2. You should now have 2 sets of 2. Again, stack to the left and sew along this right side. You'll want to repeat these same steps for all 5 rows. Now we're going to sew the first 2 rows together and the bottom 3 rows together. You want to make sure your seams are lined up as much as possible. You can add some clips so your fabric doesn't move around while you're sewing. Now you can sew your bottom 3 rows. Remember, do not sew your top and bottom rows together yet. Now center your top piece in the middle of your bottom 3 rows. In this case, you do not want your seams to line up. If lined up correctly, you should have about a 2-inch gap on each side. I'm using the front of this crew neck to cut out my pattern. I usually cut about a 1/2 inch away for seam allowance. Don't cut out your neck hole yet unless you're using the same hood that came from your pattern. Now I'm using some adhesive spray to glue down my design just so it doesn't move while I'm sewing. You could also use pins, but I'm lazy. A lot of the fabrics I used were pretty thin, so I'm just going to take that same adhesive spray and line it with some hoodie material. Now you need to make the back of your hoodie. I like to lay my scraps directly on top of the front of my hoodie and I'll just cut out my pattern that way. Using the same technique, you'll stack and then sew down that right edge. Once you finish sewing the back, you can cut your neck hole. I like to make sure that my shoulder width is exactly the same, so I'll just measure out 6 inches and then make that cut. Now you'll sew your front and your back pieces together, and you're only going to sew the shoulders and down the sides. The bottom, the neck hole, and your arm should still be open. Now it's time to attach the hood. Flip your hoodie inside out and you'll want to try to clip the hood directly lined up with the middle of the front of your hoodie. You can flip it and double check that you like that placement. I would recommend using clips for this step and then you're ready to sew. Sew your hood all the way around. Now that your hood is attached, you can make your arms. I'm using this arm pattern from that same crew neck earlier. I have all my scraps laid out and I can start making my patchwork sleeves. This is the pattern for the first sleeve and the second pattern. Once you finish sewing the pattern, fold in half and sew down that arm sleeve. Now your sleeves are done and we can attach some wrist cuffs. Your sleeves should be inside out and just make sure that your seams are lined up. You can gently stretch as you sew to make sure it fits. We're going to attach the arms the same way we did the hood. Your hoodie should be inside out and your sleeve should be right side out. Line up your seams, clip, and sew all the way around. Now for the last step, you want your waistband to be a few inches smaller than your hoodie. You can keep your hoodie right side out, just flip up the waistband so that the raw hems are aligned with each other. Same thing here, just stretch as you sew. And there you go, your patchwork hoodie is complete.